One of the things that you have to understand is many of our riders have no other way to get around. Friday evening at 6 o'clock when we stop operating, and we don't operate again until Monday morning, that means they got 2 days that they don't have any way to get around. This gives them an extra day, a day that's not a Monday through a Friday that they can get out.
Welcome to Insider, the official podcast for the city of Murfreesboro. I'm Mike Browning. Our topic, city transit and changes to bus routes, including Saturday service. Our guest is Russ Brashear, Assistant Director of the Transportation Department, who oversees Rover. Russ, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, first you grew up in Murfreesboro and you graduated from MTSU, but you left and worked at several large cities like Orlando, I believe, and places in Pennsylvania. So tell us about your background with transportation.
Well, it basically started back in 1989 when I first started working for the Airport Authority in Nashville. Didn't really get into the ground transportation side of things till my last couple years there, but that's kind of what started the whole transportation career for me. Went on and worked at a couple different airports, managing airport shuttle services, and then ultimately took over a very large operation in Orlando with about 200 vehicles and 350 employees. Covered a pretty big area. Since then, I've been back here in Tennessee. I went back to Orlando for a brief while. And I've been here with the city of Murfreesboro for almost 3 years now.
Okay, so why is the city making route changes now?
Well, like anything else, any service with the city, as the city grows, so do the services. You have to make adjustments to meet the demand and just provide the services that the community needs.
So what kind of route changes are you making?
Well, we're eliminating some areas of extremely low ridership, and we spent a lot of time deciding what those areas were to make sure that we were making the correct decisions. So areas of low ridership, combining a couple routes together, and actually adding areas that we haven't had before that are in high demand and meet some good safety standards. So.
Have you changed the names of these routes?
We have. The two routes that we're combining are the West Side Loop route and the Old Fort route. We're going to call that the Mall District route now because it basically serves the Stones River Mall, the avenues, the Target shopping area, Sam's Club, all of those that our patrons like to go to. So.
Is some of this change caused by the fact that the growth is so heavy on the west side of town?
Well, it is and it isn't. The West Side Loop route met the biggest need of people needing to go to the Social Security office, but the residents themselves weren't really utilizing the service. Now we feel like that with eliminating just some of those areas where we literally never picked anybody up or dropped them off, that we can offer a better service by combining it with that Old Fort route and serving it with two buses.
So improving efficiency and then dealing with some of the low ridership. In the industry, how often do you do that? Do you refocus and look at what ridership is and then make changes?
Typically changes are made quarterly. For the city of Murfreesboro, we haven't made any major changes in quite a while. So this is something that was really needed to be done. And, we got it together and we're pushing it out and we're excited to see it happen.
So part of this change is this notion of what fixed stops are and then flag stops. So explain fixed stops and flag stops for our listeners.
Well, a flag stop is just that. You can stand anywhere along the route and wave your hand up and flag the bus down. The problem with that is the riders are often close to each other but not next to each other. So you make a stop, drive 200 feet, and stop again. That's just terrible for efficiency. And fixed stops help eliminate that, and you can control where the stops are.
Now, when you change this to people accustomed to doing the flag stops to a fixed stop, what do you think that's going to create?
Early on, for those that, for whatever reasons, didn't get the word, they'll be a little confused if the bus drives right by them. Hopefully, with all the efforts that we've made, all the outreach that we've done, everybody understands that that's what's going to happen come March 2nd. Now, again, it's only going to happen on the Mall District route and the Gateway route. The other routes, we will eventually get to that, but we're not ready to do those just yet.
And for the riders that are currently taking advantage of the service, you'll give them notice on the buses
Absolutely.
that this change is occurring.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and how will you do that?
Well, we've got a list of where all the stops are. And during our public outreach, we had maps available for them to see exactly where the route was going to be. We had the stops identified on the maps. They're on our website. Anybody can pull that up, and they can zoom in and see exactly where all the stops are. We will have riders' guides that will be printed up that they can refer to if needed. So,
safety, of course, is a top priority when it comes to transportation. How will this improve safety?
Well, it's no secret that there's our times when traffic is heavy in Murfreesboro, and we designed these routes and the stop locations to minimize traffic congestion. So, for instance, one of the hot topic roads around here is Medical Center Parkway. So we do not have any stops along Medical Center Parkway. We have them on the peripheral roads, but not on Medical Center Parkway itself. And we've put them in locations to prevent congestion at intersections, so that we're not stopping immediately after going through an intersection or something like that kind of holds traffic up and prevents it from flowing.
So if you're wanting to ride along Medical Center Parkway, which I assume a lot of people do, that's a pretty well-traveled area, where do you get on and off in that section? Is it at the mall itself? Or?
So we travel along Avenue Way inside the mall. Over at Stones River, we travel along the Mall Circle Drive, actually in by the theater, back out around the restaurants, and on the other side of the mall where Dillard's is.
Which is where a lot of people probably want to go, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How does Broad Street, a major thoroughfare in Murfreesboro, impact how Rover operates? Because that's such a big thoroughfare.
Yes, it is. So we do not have any, I'll take that back. We have one stop on Broad Street that is south of Medical Center Parkway. Otherwise, we don't operate stop, pick up, drop off on Broad Street south of Medical Center. Now, between Medical Center and Thompson Lane, we have several stops on both sides of the street. Or we will have, I'll say. Prior to these changes coming up, we only travel north on Northwest Broad up to Thompson Lane. We don't come back south on it. It's a safety issue because people are wanting to get on the west side of Broad Street. We're having to cross over on foot, and so we're eliminating that with this change, and we're traveling on both sides.
On February 1st, it's coming up pretty quickly, you are going to be adding Saturday service. Why did you decide to serve riders on Saturday?
Well, there's a couple reasons. One, the riders have been asking for it, and we recognize that need. And aside from that, it was part of the needs assessment survey that was done a couple years ago.
And the council approved that in the budget, right? That was something that they recognized as well.
Yes, they did. Mm-hmm.
Is this going to, when you add Saturday service and change these routes, are you anticipating that you're going to have increased ridership?
Well, we naturally will have increased ridership because we have an additional day of service. Whether or not that will increase the average ridership, per day or something like that, it remains to be seen. But it will increase the overall rider count because of that. So,
Discuss the 3 Saturday routes that you have. What are those, and why are you implementing those particular routes?
sure. So 2 of those routes are our busiest routes. They have the heaviest ridership. They go through mostly neighborhood areas. So that would be our Mercury route and our Highland route. We chose those 2 because they are our heaviest routes. And then we chose the Old Fort route because that then allows people to get over into the shopping areas and other places that they might want to go, grocery stores, different places that they might want to be at on a Saturday. We didn't want to go with all the routes at first for several reasons. One, we're trying to make sure that Saturday is going to be a success. And 3, we didn't want to pour that much funding into it right off the bat.
The routes that you did choose and what the surveys indicated, was it because they really wanted to do shopping? Was that the main reason why Saturday service is in demand?
I think that's it, because one of the things that you have to understand is many of our riders have no other way to get around. So at Friday evening at 6 o'clock when we stop operating, and we don't operate again until Monday morning, that means they got 2 days that they don't have any way to get around. This gives them an extra day, a day that's not a Monday through a Friday, that they can get out, go do whatever it is that they need to do, and not be stressed out about having to try to work it in during the work week.
And so everyone's clear, what hours will Saturday routes operate?
It'd be 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
So mostly during like what business hours would be.
Right.
But you're having to add not only buses, but operators.
We had to add a couple more operators. As far as buses go, no, we're using buses out of the existing fleet because right now we have buses that don't operate on Saturdays, so they're available.
Well, this is exciting for people who have really needed that service. And like you said, there's a long period there where they don't have it. What will determine whether Saturday service becomes not just something you're looking into, but a permanent service?
Ridership will determine that, and fund availability. So certainly if Saturday turns out to be low participation, if the people aren't out there riding it, it doesn't make sense to have that expense of running around with empty buses. So hopefully, and I believe it will, we'll have a high ridership on Saturdays. That'll be the catalyst for determining whether or not we extend hours or add more service, continue it, and so on.
All right. We'll look forward to seeing what happens.
I do too. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
All right.
We've been speaking with Assistant Director of Transportation, Russ Brashear. For more information on the City of Murfreesboro, visit murfreesborotn.gov. You've been listening to Insider, the official podcast for the City of Murfreesboro. Until next time, I'm Mike Browning. Thanks for joining us.